What is going on, everyone? Hope you've all had a wonderful weekend. Hope you've had a wonderful start to the week. As I did not post anything yesterday, as some of you guys may have noticed, I was just kind of busy. Didn't have quite enough time to get things done. So I do apologize for that delay. Today we will be resuming the usual schedule. We'll go over our E-mini future contract per usual. Uh, Today took me kind of by surprise in the sense of how it was today's price action occurred. I did not really participate, which kind of frustrates me. But as a trader, I just kind of have to, accept it and move on, right? Well, out of my entire career, I'll have millions of trades, and missing a few today is not the end of the world. So, got to keep that in perspective. Sometimes it's difficult because you just see the grind down like we had today, and you're like, oh my God, I could have made this, could have made that. I also could have lost a lot of money today. So I have to keep that perspective in mind as a trader. So trying to keep the mental sharp, trying not to waste too much mental fuel and energy on the market because it has been a really small and choppy range over the last several days. Coming into this week, we've had some really small ranges and days. We're looking at our monthly chart right now. Let's go ahead and get into it. We'll look at our monthly. We'll look at the weekly, as the weekly has now just came back into a balance. So sellers are kind of starting to take control little by little here, as we've put the weekly back in the balance by taking out our daily balance low and last week's low. So we'll look at that, and then we'll get into our 30-minute time frame, kind of to break down what happened throughout the day, and then give you guys some destinations and even show how we kind of grinded down through several destinations today on the downside. Kind of just tick them off little by little. All right, so monthly has been in a 5-month balance. We've been chopping around inside this 4,200 to 3788.50 area for quite some time. I've been saying for many of you that have been watching my video for a while now, this 4141 level to 4208.50, that February high here, is a big area of resistance. Big area. A lot of traders have been looking at, and just so happens to be coming up into it, into the month and the week of earnings for a lot of these big tech names. So, a lot of speculation up here, and a lot of resistance. We've not really found a lot of acceptance in or above this 4150 to 4200 area. Keep rejecting it right now. As of right now, with 3 days left in the trading month, I believe. I might be mistaken here, but let's see. Yeah, with 3 days left in the trading week, we have the monthly looking like it's going to finish pretty ugly. All right. This month's range has been one of the smallest. However, it can get extended in these last few days. It's one of the smallest we've had in quite some time. If you watched my video back on Friday, I believe the last one we had was in July of 2019, was the last smallest range that we've had of this nature. So monthly balance, rejecting the top of that balance area as of right now. Let's look at our weekly. Now our weekly, you can see we've kind of taken back last week's low and then some. So how this weekly balance is just now forming. So depending on how much we take out of this week here depends on what we include. As of right now, we are in a firm 3-week balance or a 2-week balance, however you want to look at it. If we do not create another low on the weekly here, then we'll just accumulate a 2-week balance initially using last week's high and then this week's low. However, if we continue to grind down lower into this week's range back in March, If we continue to grind lower, then we'll encompass this whole thing into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 week balance. All right. So weekly, coming back into a balance, rejecting that 4,200 area, right? Coming back into a balance. Sellers are kind of starting to step back into the market here a little bit, right? You've seen what happened during these few weeks right here, right? We were one time firming up into that resistance area. And then we rolled over, put the weekly into a balance, and then this market began to one time frame down again. Now, do we do that again? Do we put the weekly into a balance, take out the balance low, and then roll over the next week? Could be a possibility, but that's all speculation. We'll just have to trade it day by day. So let's mark our weekly balance, as we haven't marked a weekly balance in quite some time. I'm just going to mark the high because the weekly balance is just now forming. So we can't really say that this so far today's low is the low of or the balance low, but we do know that our balance high now is last week's high of 94.75. So 94.75 was last week's high, and we'll mark that as our balance high. So what happened is all we've done now is stop the one time framing up. We've been one time framing up 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, meaning we're taking out previous week's high, and then this week we take out last week's low, stopping that trend of taking out weekly highs, right? So that's why we come back into a balance. That's how you determine that. For those of you that are kind of wondering, 94.75 is our balance high. And all you do to determine what your balance high is, you use the most recent high that you've had before rolling over and taking out the weekly low. So far, that is going to be our balance high at 94.75. Sorry, my brain's kind of bleh. Alrighty. For those of you that don't know, I wake up at like 3 a.m. So, and then by the time I get to these videos, my brain's just kind of kaput. All right, now let's look at our daily. Daily has now broken out firmly. Now broken out of this balance to the downside. Right, we've been consolidating for quite some time up here. I gave the buyers their due. Stretched the balance low by a little bit. We put ourselves, in a sticky situation yesterday, and then today we opened with a gap lower, filled the gap, and then got below our balance low at 41.35.25. Went through the 20-day moving average. However, just because we closed below it today does not mean anything. One day does not make a market, so we need to see if we find acceptance of lower price down here before saying that we have accepted below the 20-day moving average, and then begin to target the 40.53 50-day moving average. If we do find acceptance, that would mean we continue to one-time frame down and we touch the 50-day moving average. That would require us to fill the gaps that we've created, and potentially even filling this gap down here. Ultimately, that is seller's target, to fill this gap right in here. I'm highlighting right now. If sellers are serious and really want to start stepping, because we've trapped a lot of longs up here, a lot of buyers got trapped up here. If this market could really start to roll over, that would mean we get to and through the 50 and fill in this gap, and then get to the 200-day moving average. Ultimately, that would be healthy for the market to kind of see a little bit of a pullback before making another leg up higher. But that's just me. We'll see what the market can do. But right now, one time framing down. So we look to continue that trend tomorrow by taking out today's low. Today was pretty decent range, one of the largest we've had in the last several days, as it was 52.5 points. So good range, decent volume, above average volume today on that move down. So keep an eye on that, right? We want to see if we can take out today's low. Now let's get into the nitty gritty and look at our 30-minute time frame. Like I said, I did not participate a whole lot today I actually took I took literally two trades. Two trades is all I took, and I ended up losing $168 on the day. I was down 200, I was playing very small today. Didn't have a lot on as far as size, and yeah, that's how it went. So we opened the day with a gap lower below yesterday's low of 41.39. Yesterday was a bit of a choppy session. Not a lot happened. I ended up not trading yesterday, as it was choppy price action, and I kind of, by the time I got to looking at the market, I did not like the way it was shaping up and forming. It looked like the sellers were kind of giving back a lot, and that's exactly what happened as they grinded up into the close yesterday. Today, once again, we open up with another emotional gap to the downside and then filled that gap. Gaps have not held very often this year, especially in the most recent days. We have not held gaps at all. Then, after the gapping lower, filling that gap and then rolling over, B takes out, or we begin to kind of one time frame down, creating our initial balance in the first two time frames. I don't have my destinations pulled up right now, and that's just to kind of keep it more clean, as when I do pull them up, that it will be kind of messy. So the first two time frames basically began to break out of that balance low. We took out our initial balance in C period, which, you know, our initial balance is the first two 30-minute time frames, high and low. That's how you determine our initial balance. C period took that out. We attempted to go trend, couldn't, came back tested our balance low in D period, which was a great opportunity to go short against the open and the previous day's low. So great short opportunity for anybody. And I believe regular trading VWAP was right there as well. Great short opportunity. I believe 144 simple moving average was right around that area as well. That high at 36 was a beautiful short there. Unfortunately, I was not at my computer to take that trade. Otherwise, that would have been one of the main trades that I took, as it was a great risk reward opportunity against B's high and the open. However, you took that trade, you rolled over, and began to take lows on the day. And it was kind of in a weird grind fashion down. We attempted to go trend 4 different times today, and each time we attempted to go trend, it got filled. And then we ended up going trend in H period, having that big gap here that you can see where that single print is, and then creating a second distribution. So today we go out with 2 distributions, right? Today's high, today's low, and a double distribution day. This being the upper distribution, and then this being the lower distribution. As you can see, this little spike here, that's in the after hours, and I believe that is due to the Microsoft and Google earnings. I believe Microsoft did well on their earnings as far as ad revenue, and then Google did well in the cloud space, if I'm not mistaken. However, and they're doing like a $70 billion buyback. If I'm not mistaken, that was Google. Somebody's doing a $70 billion buyback, which is good for the company. But we go out with a double distribution day, no afternoon rally high, no wide point of control, and just a weird grind down. The only large tempo you had was in this H period here. As you can see, the volume spiked above average, and we kind of just boom straight down, and then kind of grinded the rest of the way down. The one trade that I did take was in E period against C's low, as it seemed like we might have just began to start going rotational. We had a bit of a two-sided trade, as we had a point of control at C's high. So I was kind of expecting us, maybe fade the edge to extreme and rotate back up. Well, I had that trade on, and then we kind of just grinded down, and I got stopped out of that trade for a $200 loss. And then I got short in H period around the 108 level before I opened up, and I didn't really like the trade, so I took it off for like a 2-tick gain, and made, or like a point gain, and the loss was 168 or whatever I ended up with on the day after commissions. So, and then had I held on to that trade, I would have made pretty decent on it. Not a lot of points there, as that lower range was kind of small. All right, so let's pull up the destinations. Boom, there's all the destinations. That's why I was trying to keep it clean for you guys. And you can see, I need to go back and mark yesterday's. See, I didn't even have time yesterday to mark that stuff. We did get to that 10Y point of control yesterday. Clear out all that. I need to go back and mark yesterday's high. We'll do that here in just a second. But you can see we got into that single print, filled that set of single prints. Next destination on the downside was that low day at 41.24.50. We got that in C period. And then we began to grind down to the next destination at 41.13. And then next destination after that was the afternoon pullback low at 41.02. The 4100 level, 40.98.75 low of day, 40.96.50 low of day. We got that one. And then just missed getting into where that low of day from March 31st, where the gap starts, and then the gap fills from March 30th, 40.88.50 and 40.87.75. That small little gap there. Below that, there's a vacuum down to the downside at 40.61.25, and then single prints. The one tick of single prints back from that day. I believe we'll get there because there was a wide point of control there at 40.44.25. 9 wide point of control, afternoon pullback low, and then where that gap starts at 40.32. So if this market really wants to get moving to the downside, there's nothing but vacuums and a magnet right here at 40.44 to the downside. So let's start clearing out. And that's why it's like you always want to have these destinations in mind, because in C period, we bounced off that low day, ran up, back tested the balance low here. Couldn't get back in the previous day's range. Couldn't get above the opening. Began to roll over. Value was lower. We had the overnight low. We had one time frame and down. We had the initial balance low. So everything was in favor of the sellers. And then we began to grind down lower. So once you got back below this 40.24.50, you knew the next downside destination was 41.13, right? So if you had a decent sized lot on, you could have taken some off there at 41.24 if you shorted in D, right? Next destination, 41.13. You get that in H. You take it off. Boom. Next destination on the downside, that afternoon pullback low at 41.02.25, which H got to the tick and then bounced pretty good. Created a good short opportunity there. It only bounced like 7 or 8 points to the upside, but still bounced pretty good there. And then you can see we had a little bit of trouble in this 4100 level after we got that afternoon pullback low. Next destination was that low day, and then ultimately the next low day. So let's mark our destinations from today. And before I forget, let's mark yesterday's high, because I did not do that. Did not do my homework yesterday. What is wrong with me? What is wrong? All right. And if you guys did not catch my video that I posted on Sunday, go back and watch that video. I did post a video with all my workspace and studies that I use and how I use them in my trading day. So if you guys want to check that out, go right on ahead. Let me know if there's anything I could do better. As I always do, like getting feedback from you guys. All right, so we got 64.25, yesterday's high. We got today's high at 44.25. Ooh, I need to backdate that. I am human and I make errors. You know what doesn't make errors? ChatGPT. Because it can create a $1 million trading strategy for you. 5 day, 425.23. So that will be our high of day and the upper portion of the upper distribution. And then we have where single prints start here at G's low. Or they fill at G's low at 1650. 1650 is where single prints fill because it is now an upside destination, right? So you want to see if there is enough demand to fill that area on a push up. So 1650 is the lower portion of the upper distribution. So from A's high to G's low is the upper distribution. And then from that point, we have the lower distribution where the single prints start at I's high at 70750. 0750 I's high is where the single prints start and will be the upper portion of the lower distribution. So the lower distribution will be I's high to the day's low, which was 92.25. 92.25. All these extra numbers. Get out of here. If you made it to the end, boy, you're a trooper. I know these videos are lengthy. All right, so if-then scenarios. If we open up in the lower distribution and cannot take out the day's low, right? If we open up in the lower distribution and cannot take out the day's low, you will look to backfill this set of single prints at 107.50 to 116.50. All right. If we open up in the lower distribution and cannot get into the set of single prints or fill them, you'll look to roll over, take out the day's low, and then backfill that small little gap there at 88.50 to 87.75. However, if we open up in the upper distribution, then this set of single prints will no longer be anything to lean against. You will still have the distributions, but that set of single prints will be considered filled because we opened up in the upper distribution. If we open up in the upper distribution and cannot get back into the lower distribution and find acceptance, if we open up here and cannot get back down below 41.1650, then you'll more likely take out the day's high and put ourselves back into a balance of sorts on the daily. If we open up inside the lower distribution, fill the set of single prints, and can't really find acceptance in the upper distribution, then you'll just expect chop for the most part if the volume is low. And that's kind of what I can expect for tomorrow, is just a choppy day if we do not take out the day's low and cannot get back into the upper distribution. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, take it easy, use stops, don't waste your mental fortitude on this mess. One day does not make a market. One day does not make a career. We got millions of trades, thousands of days to trade. So let's do it one day at a time and make some money. All right. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. If you guys are new, see ya.